So, greetings from Greece. I'm Antonis Petropoulos, the editor of Eco Club. I warmly welcome you to the second live event of our Green Destination series, where we showcase eco-friendly destinations without glorifying them by asking highly accomplished local practitioners to present their own work at the destination and the challenges they and their colleagues are experiencing. Today, our expert is Mrs. Nikki Rose, whom I will introduce shortly. She will talk mainly about culinary tourism and agritourism in Crete. Crete, famous in recent years for its healthy diet, the Cretan diet, is the biggest Greek island, the fifth in the Mediterranean, with a permanent population around 650,000 people, around a quarter of whom work directly in tourism and leisure during the summer months. In 2019, it received around 4.5 million international visitors by charter flights, by air, and around 6 million in total. These fell to just over 1 million in 2020 during the pandemic. Crete is a very mountainous island with 3 peaks above 2,000 meters. As a result, it has a great diversity of climate and biomes. There are 50 protected areas, a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve, Samaria Gorge, one of 10 major gorges, and a UNESCO Geopark, Psiloritis Mountain. Famous sites include the Minoan era palaces of Knossos and Festos, the tropical Balos Beach and Elafonisi, hundreds of caves, including the Dictean Cave on Mount Dicti, considered the birthplace of Zeus, the Venetian fortress of Spinalonga and other castles, the old town of Chania and Archanes village, site of a 3,500-year-old wine press, considered among the world's oldest. Little-known sites include the site of the oldest hominid footprints in Europe, 5.6 million years old, which have been recently discovered in Trachylos Beach in Kisanos. And another little-known site is Europe's southernmost glacier in Mile, in Lefkaori, the mountain, White Mountains of Crete, at 1,800 meters above sea level. Famous but increasingly rare animals include the kri-kri, or the Cretan ibex, the furogatos, or wildcat, wild donkey, and the careta sea turtle. There are at least 1,893 plant species, of which 159 are endemic. Crete has the largest endemism among European islands. Evidence of organized settlements goes back to the early Neolithic era in the Knossos area, occupied by the Minoans, considered the oldest European civilizations who were in contact with the Egyptians, then the Mycenaean Greeks, the Romans, Byzantines, the Arabs, the Venetians, and the Turks, briefly the Egyptians. They have all left their mark. After a 60-year independence campaign, Crete finally joined Greece in the 20th century. Organized tours on Crete go way back to the start of the 20th century, but modern tourism began in the 1960s, with hotels being built in the northern sandy shores. In 1971, Heraklion Airport started receiving international charter flights, while also the first large greenhouses were also established on the island. Today, about half of greenhouses in Greece are to be found in Crete. Tourist arrivals rapidly grew from just 200,000 in 1973 to nearly 800,000 in 1980, to 2.5 million in 2003 and 6 million before the pandemic. Large foreign tour operators control up to 70% of beds, which leads to increased leakages and risks when large operators go bust, such as Thomas Cook. The tourism model is highly seasonal and concentrated. 80% of tourism revenue is produced during the summer months along the northern coast of the island near the largest cities. Uncontrolled development during the 80s and 90s led to environmental issues, including water pollution, water shortages, power cuts, waste management issues, ecosystem damage, congestion, decrease to cultivated land, and forest fires. Despite local protest, a new airport is currently being built in Castelli. The works started just before the pandemic, a year ago in February 2020. Our expert presented today is Ms. Nikki Rose, a Greek-American journalist, seminar director, and professional chef in Crete, Greece. In 1997, Nikki founded Crete's Culinary Sanctuaries, an educational network, to support residents working on action programs to to protect and share their heritage. CCS, Crete's Culinary Sanctuaries, teachers are archaeologists, ecologists, organic farmers, heirloom, seed savers, chefs, artists, and many others. CCS organizes accredited educational programs on Crete's culture, nature, organic agriculture, and cuisine. Over 3,000 students, teachers, and journalists have attended their programs. Their upcoming documentary, Heritage Protectors, is a continuation of their work, and we will see a trailer after Nikki's presentation. CCS is an award-winning program for best practices in responsible and sustainable travel, and featured in major news outlets and guidebooks, and recognized as a best case example by prestigious international organizations. Nikki is a consultant on similar initiatives around the world and has been a most valuable member of EcoClub since 2004. You are welcome to type your questions during the presentation or to ask a question live during the discussion that will follow. Nikki, thank you very much for being with us tonight. Please start.
Thank you very much, Andoni. Great to be here. Well, as Andoni already mentioned most of my biography, I can skip forward and cut to the real meat of the story here. I do have a school without walls here in Crete. It took me many years to build it, and it's still growing. As Andoni's mentioned, the tourism model here is generic in most cases, but our work is in education. And so I built the school 20 years ago to support people working hard to protect their cultural and culinary heritage and provide them with opportunities to share their knowledge, which is very important right now more than ever. So our teachers are archaeologists, agroecologists, organic farmers, organic vintners, chefs, botanists, musicians, and many other people working hard to protect their heritage. And so we've hosted over 3,000 students, teachers, chefs, sustainable tourism professionals, and many others. So let me share my screen and show you what we do. Okay, can everybody see that? That's okay. So this is Anoia, where Siluritis, where Andoni's mentioned. So in this lovely area of Eastern Crete, there's a lot of development. So looking in the mountains for who's still preserving their traditional heritage, where are the cheesemakers, where are the beekeepers? So it took me many years to find the best teachers. So our group is over 45 teachers now, all working together to share the big picture of our cultural and natural heritage. And it's growing, thank God. One of the biggest issues is, okay, now we see how small Crete is here, this little island in the Med. What we do know is that Crete is very special in that it has 4,000 years of cultural and culinary history that we should really work harder to protect and preserve. So what do people usually know? Maybe they know about the Minoan Palace of Knossos, which is here, agricultural land still primarily as it was then, but unfortunately this is mostly industrial agriculture, not like it was 4,000 years ago. Here's Festos, another major discovery, Minoan Palace again. And so our work, I use food as the window to teach the story about other issues that people want to learn, and then also lessons to learn from the past and things we can do now to protect our cultural and culinary heritage. We also have the Mediterranean diet, which is the reason why a lot of people come to me, or did in the beginning, and that's just the beginning of the story. It's not the whole thing. So we also have, beautiful natural history and hiking. We also have generic tourism, which is not part of what we do in our educational programs, but just to let you know, it's there. We also have junk food, plenty of that. So in my work over the years, I started out very simply saying, okay, I'm just going to teach people how to cook, eat better. But then we see the problems of disappearing traditional trades. A lot of people were encouraged to give up their traditional trades of fishing and small scale farming and bartering, all that stuff that sustained them before, and move into tourism, construction, and industrial agriculture. So with our work, it's really about rekindling interest in nature, culture and nature with residents and also visitors, so that we can have a program that communities create by themselves, and it's not top down by some foreign tour operator, or even, a large scale tour operator here in Greece. We're just on another end of tourism. Our work is education. So I've written about these issues, both the good and the bad, many articles, hundreds, for Slow Food and the Culinary Institute of America, where I went to school. So that's what led a lot of people to ask me to teach them. And that's how I ended up opening my School Without Walls. So where are these farmers and beekeepers? I had to look around. So before these students, which are nutrition students from America, enjoy this lovely meal, we have to take them to the roots of our culture and cuisine. This is Azoria project in Eastern Crete, and their focus is on agricultural practices through the ages. So it's perfect. The nutrition students didn't really understand why they needed to come here, but I think after they arrived, they managed to understand, okay, discovering the roots of our cuisine is really important. It's not just reading labels and eating less sugar. So, these are amazing experiences that turn out to be high risk for me, dragging students all the way across to the Eastern Crete for this archaeological site, but it's the most important for me to teach these and collaborate with archaeologists on these amazing projects. So here are the excavations in progress, which is amazing to see these pots. Of course, it's all food. There's, so much food and seeds, all this information that these students really learn. So the whole Mediterranean diet has turned into something the more of a marketing and PR, in my opinion, on olive oil, which is just one part of the story. But it's important also for students to understand how long olive oil has been produced, how it's produced, what are the different, what's the different equipment that was used, back in 200 AD. So all of this equipment and that tree is estimated at 200 AD. So students get to learn how agricultural production of olive oil has changed over the years, from these stones to, all this modern equipment, and then back again in some cases. They also learn about our fisheries industry. We have amazing fish, but we also have problems with small scale fishers making a living, and then also water pollution from some of these large resorts, which, of course, if people are talking about gastronomy, tourism, if we're not protecting our sources, what are we doing? You know, so we get into these aspects of the small scale fishers and, you know, of course, enjoy the fish, but we also get to know the fishers and find out what's happening with them. How are they surviving in this climate of large scale fisheries? Also overfishing by illegal boats that everyone's afraid to talk about. So then we also learn about biodiversity and beekeeping, which is very important in Crete. Our thyme honey is, you know, amazing. And so we get to meet the beekeepers, find out what's going on, the good and the bad. Where, you know, colony collapse disorder has, you know, affected our industry of beekeeping, and then just also our pollinators for all the rest of the food that we enjoy. So we really need to keep an eye on that. And of course, pesticides are one of the main problems with pollinator destruction, and we can't ignore these issues. So botany is so much a part of our cuisine, not just in the pollinators, but also in our traditional horta, wild grains that we eat and then also use for tea and medicine. So these are very important aspects of our cuisine and our, you know, so-called traditional Mediterranean diet that we need to enjoy, and then also understand that we need to protect it. And, you know, air pollution, water pollution, everything changes. Our natural medicine could be lost due to overgrazing, many other things. But the students are just coming on this trip to learn about botany and have some fun. We don't, you know, lay all this information down on them immediately. So here's, you know, just the variety of wild plants that we have in Crete that, you know, of course, it looks like we've got plenty of it, but again, over harvesting and all these issues with climate change and air pollution can really affect what our cuisine looks like in years to come if we don't protect it. So our students stay in villages. We tried a couple of times to use lodging in the mountains, and okay, we do that sometimes, but 20-year-olds are, you know, most of our students are 20. I mean, we organize trips for people a lot older than that as well, but it's been my experience over the years to make sure that students have stuff to do. And if we put them in the middle of nowhere at a lodge with nothing going on, then we have to create activities. So it's easier for them to just be in a village and enjoy these impromptu experiences like the cheesemakers coming down from the mountains to sell cheese. You know, we're just sitting around and having lunch or something before this. We also work with teachers on Minoan cooking. So students know how the those old pots that we, you know, uncover in the Minoan era, how they can, Geraldine here is bringing them to life in a cooking class for my students, which is really fun. So our students also go to self-sustaining farmers, what you call them, subsistence farmers. This is very important for them to learn and also fun. They're not everywhere. You know, it's not easy to find someone who wants to host a bunch of kids or, you know, anybody on their farm. So it's really hard to find these teachers, but when we do, it's wonderful. So our students also learn about our agricultural practices current, which is, this is a seed freedom protest we participated in Athens with Vandana Shiva, Panayotis from Politi. I'm there too. Somebody, I can't remember who took the picture. But I work with half of these people, and they're heirloom seed savers, which is part of a bigger plan. When you learn about heirloom seeds, you also learn about agricultural practices and how we can do better. How does agriculture affect our environment? So it's not just me talking about all this. These are some of the organizations that are involved in sustainable organic farming. Also, Farmer's Footprint is a doctor, Dr. Zach Bush, who's spoken about unsustainable agriculture and how it relates to health. So all of these organizations, there are many, many more, but these are just a few that I've collaborated with or followed for the Monsanto Tribunal. And these are all, recent reports and recent studies that anyone can look up. And, the FAO is recognizing agroecology as a viable solution to unsustainable farming. So things are looking up. So what does that look like on the ground? I mean, we've got all these people writing these papers, but how do you manage this in my village or your city? So this is what we're doing in Crete, collecting old heirloom seeds and packaging them, painstaking work, and then giving them away at a festival. This is one of many, this is an annual festival we also cover in our documentary. So this is where the young farmers come into the situation, because if we have a disappearing rural communities, then we have disappearing resilient communities, and everything falls apart. The knowledge of the sustainable organic farming is lost. So we have to do whatever we can to support these young farmers. So here's the farm where the seeds come from. It's not the only place, but this is the headquarters, let's say, here in Crete, of where these seeds are cultivated and saved. And here's one of my student groups going to meet the farmers and find out what's going on. So here they are learning more about how this farm operates, what's the importance of saving seeds, why it's so expensive to be involved in chemical agriculture. You have to buy the seeds, you have to buy the pesticides, and here's the results. So just one of the many activities of learning about our cuisine, and then heirloom tomatoes, which you can hardly find in the United States, but you can still find here, which is interesting. So, just giving the students a bigger picture of what's happening here and who's in charge. Of course, we have cooking classes. Everybody needs to know how to cook. Of course, we learn about Cretan wine, as Andonis mentioned much earlier, one of the oldest wine presses that we know of. There were others in the Middle East, but we have a very significant history of winemaking throughout the years. And so it's very important for us, for me, for sure, to support the young farmers and the young winemakers, because if we're saying that this is a disappearing, trade, these traditional trades are disappearing, we need to do something. So my groups come to see, this is Andonis Dorakis, very funny guy. My students also learn about music, not necessarily just Cretan music, as Ross Daly will tell them. His focus is on modal music. And so we have private classes with Ross Daly, who's a pretty famous musician, and so are his colleagues. We also support the small-scale farmers and raki makers and mountaineers, all of whom are in this room dancing with me. So the traditional Cretan cuisine, to protect our land and sea and support the providers of our good, safe food. we need to do this. If we continue with this industrial agriculture and also industrial tourism, we're not going anywhere. So basically, the benefits of cultural immersion experiences are strengthening the current programs, direct collaboration with communities, no more top-down, industry-wide directives that don't help the local people at all. The jobs are crap, you know, at the beach bars, at these big hotels. It's not a good living. But if we can find a way for farmers, young farmers, to make a real living like they do in San Francisco or something, then we're on to something. So we need to understand what's happening globally, how farmers are making a living there. Look at the networks of Napa Valley Vintners Association, see how they've accomplished so much to elevate their status of their wines and their status of their cuisine in that area to, you know, the highest level. Crete can do that too. We just need to work together and collaborate. So on that end, we're also working on a documentary, which we've been working on this. It's been in my head ever since I moved here to document the traditions and culture and nature of this island. And so this is a long time coming, but it's good timing because this is basically a virtual tour of Crete. And we're in the post-production now, and hopefully we'll finish it in a year. It's hard to say because we can't do any filming lockdown, but we're gonna try, and we hope that everybody listening today stays in touch with us and keeps track and supports our work in this filmmaking. So here we are back in the mountains and, you know, filming traditional cooking. And here's the transcript, just so you know, it's not all just fun and games hanging out in the mountains. I had to type all this myself. So just so everyone knows that this isn't like the easiest thing to do, but it's important to me and we're gonna keep working on it. And we hope everyone will support us. And we hope to be able to show this documentary in conferences. I'm speaking at conferences and probably be online again this year at the Organic Farmers, IFOAM-Organic World Congress, and many other congresses where we're trying to merge the organic farming with sustainable tourism so that, you know, tourism can be also a driver to support the organic farmers and also, you know, all the other teachers I mentioned, all the people that make up the big picture of conservation work, botany, you know, preserving the mountain paths. All these things are interconnected. And so if we work hard enough, we'll get somewhere and accomplish something. So back to those transcripts. So our documentary is called Heritage Protectors. And we're, you know, like I say, we're in the last stages of production. We're almost done. Everything is on hold, so we can't really tell you when the release date's going to be yet, but hopefully next year. So thank you very much for your time. And on Donis, I'm going to stop the share. So if you would like to run the...
Yes, I will do so. Thank you very much. Fantastic account, very inspiring.
Thank you.
Player, share.
We're sitting right now in the middle of a cluster of middle Minoan farmhouses. Behind us is an olive tree that's at least 2,000 years old. And so what I found compelling about this landscape, and the reason for us to continue work in this area, is to try to understand why people for thousands of years were drawn to this environment.
Crete has been a main agricultural production area for centuries, for millennia. And it had delivered this thing that we call the Mediterranean or Cretan diet. However, mostly the last 3 or 4 decades, this has been a paradigm shift. It's a model of food production on the island.
Στα αρχαία είναι τη ζωή μου, γιατί χαϊδεύω τα χώματα των προγόνων. Έτσι λοιπόν, αυτό που έχω δει εγώ από τη μινωική εποχή, στην αρχαϊκή εποχή τα δωρεά και προχωρούμε, ήταν μία αλυσίδα. Έτσι λοιπόν, όπως ο παππούς μου, ο πατέρας μου, οι παππούδες μου, οι άνθρωποι παλιοί σεβόταν τη γη, γιατί τους έτρεφε και την αγαπούσαν, σήμερα υποφέρονται. Γιατί αν δεν έχεις λεφτά στη τσέπη, πεθαίνεις. Ενώ τότε δεν είσαι, αλλά ζούσες. Είχες να φας.
Όταν ταΐζουμε τα παιδιά μας, να τους δίνουμε ένα κομμάτι φαγητό και να τους λέμε καλή όρεξη, να μην τους λέμε καλή τύχη.
Ο σπόρος ήταν η ευκαιρία για να βρεθούμε πολλοί άνθρωποι και να διαδώσουμε την ιδέα της αυτάρκειας στην τροφή, της αυτονομίας του αγρότη, της ελευθερίας στην επιλογή. Άρχισε να θυμάται ότι υπάρχουν αυτοί οι σπόροι, ότι έχουν αυτά τα ιδιαίτερα χαρακτηριστικά, ότι αντέχονται σε αντιξοότητες, έχουν περάσει πολέμους, έχουν περάσει στερήσεις σε νερό, σε φάρμακα, σε λιπάσματα. Αυτοί είναι οι σπόροι που μπορούν να μας θρέψουν από εδώ και μετά και μπορούν να καταξέλθουν σε πολύ δύσκολες συνθήκες που έρχονται, στην κλιματική αλλαγή, ας πούμε.
Δίνουμε ένα κομμάτι. Αυτό θέλουμε να κάνουμε, να δημιουργηθεί ένα μεγάλο αγροοικολογικό πάρκο. Νομίζουμε πώς μπορούμε να το πραγματοποιήσουμε και να έχει αποτελέσματα και να γίνει η Κρήτη ένα μεγάλο περιβόλι χωρίς φάρμακα, χωρίς χημικά, χωρίς άλλες παρεμβάσεις από τον άνθρωπο που δημιουργούνται. Γιατί γίνονται όλα. Θέλει αγάπη και θέλει να είσαι εδώ.
Okay. Great.
Wonderful.
So let's move to the discussion phase. The wonderful trailer, by the way. I think, how long will the documentary be? 60 minutes or more?
90, I think.
90. 90. Excellent. Okay. Froso wants to ask something. Yes, Froso.
As always, it was lovely to see all this work that you have done, Nikki, and you are indeed an inspiration because you love very much what you're doing and you have a passion for it. So this is evident, I think, and in the video and in your speech about the Cretan heritage and everything. My question is, how do you see all these movements from the Greek government and the European governments and generally towards sustainability and certification in the agrotourism sector and the gastronomy sector? Because now the sustainable gastronomy is something that we hear almost every day now in Greece and everywhere, I think.
Yes, yes. Well, I hope they accomplish that. One of the things I see is, okay, how are they going to work with farmers? You know, what is gastronomy tourism? If farmers are protesting in the street because they're not making a living, how does this collaboration work for them? So these are questions I ask, and also how are they going to be supported if they invest in hosting people on their farms? It takes a lot to do that. You have to make investments. So how's that going to work for farmers? How's that going to work for fishers?
Subsidies. They accept subsidies for everything. So
Yeah, well, we know how that goes too. So, you know, I'm hoping, but, you know, in my opinion, gastronomy tourism should have been on in the spotlight years ago, but okay, better late than never.
True. True.
We have with us Ms. Natalie Dologlu, who has done a lot of work on agritourism as well. Natalie, would you like to say something? If you can hear me.
Hi everyone. I'm in a noisy environment, so I won't speak too much. I just wanted to thank you, Nikki, for the great presentation. I don't have a comment or something. It's a very good work, and keep on doing all this effort. You are unique.
Well, thank you, Natalie.
We need persons like you. We surely need.
Well, thank you so much. And I hope you keep in touch and tell me what's happening in your world.
Yes, we will keep in touch. Thank you very much. And thank you, Adonis, for the invitation for this presentation.
Thank you for attending. I have a question for Nikki. During the years that you have been active, have you observed any key changes in attitudes? For example, the new generation of practitioners, entrepreneurs, is it getting better? Are they developing? Are they more keen on agritourism, things like that?
Yes. When I first came here, there was no Google. Google didn't even exist. There were no websites. There were no directories. I just made something out of nothing. And now I see so many young people, okay, based on my example, I must pat myself on the back. We're in National Geographic for a reason. And they see opportunities. And they understand the global market now too. Before we had market-based, especially with olive oil, where we were just selling our olive oil in bulk to Italy. No label, no story, nothing. And now people are seeing, okay, if we invest, of course, this all costs money and marketing, but in the 22 years I've been here, we've gone from olive oil in, a recycled water bottle to beautiful labeling and exports all around the world. So yes, I'm seeing a really wonderful push, and young farmers are, they're all, graduated from enology school in Bordeaux and Germany, and learning, public relations and marketing at university in England. So they're coming back to their families' farms and, reinventing, our, culinary traditions. So it's really important to me to find ways to, support their efforts. And so we're seeing a lot, just in the past 10 years of, packaging and bottling and marketing really amazing products from Crete. So, and a sense of pride that we lost for a long time because industrial agriculture does not, how would you say, create a sense of pride. It's just a business. So yeah, I'm very hopeful. It's moving fast. There's more agricultural cooperatives, organic agricultural cooperatives, which is very important. And also packaging and exporting to Germany. I work with all these young farmers now, and I've seen how they've evolved over the years, and it's just fabulous. So we're hoping for the best.
Yes. So is also demand moving along, meaning travelers, do they also appreciate the better packaging, the better quality? Do they have an affinity for organic products, or they are just looking for cheaper? Do they prefer wine, honey, cheese? What is the main, for travelers, what's the main?
Actually, yes. Where I live and also in Agroecology, there are many, many shops, not all of them organic, but that, travelers are very interested in the products. And then when they try them at the tavernas, They're also able to ship. If it's hard to get online, shipping and sales. It's very challenging here. But when people do that, which several of my friends have, then they open up this whole world of exporting to places like Germany, which is very into even the smallest villages in Germany have bio markets on every corner. And so, Greek farmers, small scale, it's hard to export to certain markets like America, which I've understood, because bigger is better. It's impossible to ship, all those barriers to, ship your goods outside of Europa. But Europe is a pretty big market, so it's better for them to just stick around here. But Germany, the Netherlands are big markets for organic products from Crete.
Mm-hmm. And something else, the pandemic has obviously hit tourism worldwide. But would you say that in Crete, small businesses, agritourism businesses have been a bit more resilient? Will they be able to recover faster when tourists return? What do you think?
Well, we're seeing now a lot of individual travelers will be coming here in June. And interestingly enough, there's not going to be a lot of that package tourism, which, I can't really speak for everyone who works in package tourism here, people who work in the hotels, but it's not really a great living. And so the pandemic has actually, just from my perspective, from questions I get from people in my village, are, looking around for other ways to share their heritage, to pretty much emulate what we're already doing. But, to return to culture and nature, a lot of the mountaineer groups I work with are, probably going to do really well in the coming years as people realize we don't want to be stuck in an environment where we're with a lot of tourists. We want to be outside and in a small, village in our own accommodation. Of course, villa owners are going to make a killing this year, probably, because families can just rent a villa and not run into anybody, unless they want to. But, I don't usually work in that sector of luxury villas, not often. So, but we're going to probably see in the coming years, maybe, I don't think a lot of people are going to travel this summer. But it's hard to know. I know that some of my friends who work in nature tours have, a significant amount of bookings, but nothing like, before. But maybe scaling up wasn't actually the right thing to do at all. And growth in tourism, maybe we're looking at it the wrong way. Maybe we should have less, than the 2.8 million people, triple our population every year.
So you believe it will have a lasting impact, the pandemic, on the model, the tourism model in Crete?
I think so. I think people are going to sort of rethink. Maybe not the 20-year-olds, like how would you say, the spring breakers? They don't care, but for other savvy travelers who always enjoy culture and nature anyway, I think we're going to see a lot more of that if there's more opportunities. If they know that there's something available other than this mass tourism model that is, been promoted by, the tourism ministry for over 30 years.
Right. So I think we have covered many things. I don't know if you want to say anything else. And if we receive any more questions, we can discuss them in writing.
Sure.
We'll upload the video of your presentation on EcoClub, plus the notes, plus any new questions. So the discussion may continue.
Sure, sure.
And please update us about the documentary when it's ready. So
You'll be the first to know, Andoni.
Okay. All the best with that also.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for the participants. Yes, if you have any questions, we'll, just reach out to me or Andoni on the our websites, and
yes.
we'll take it from there.
Okay. So thank you very much, and good night.
Thank you too. Take good care.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.